my word, what a save.
She gets around Dunbar, she's out wide, but she puts it in the net. Lovely strike, lovely bit of play.
Oh, and he's looking to catch the goalkeeper out. It is an unbelievable goal.
Hello and welcome to Kickoff, the Football New South Wales podcast for NPL and Leagues competitions. Teo Pellizzeri with you and joined by my co-host Abdul Salam, Abs from UVF. Abs, great to see you.
It's lovely to see you again. It's always a pleasure coming down to VSB.
And a shout out to Maeve Sparrow, who is away on international duty. Been a bit too successful. The junior Matildas keep winning, meaning Maeve Sparrow stays in China. So congratulations to the junior Matildas. They qualified for the Under-17 World Cup. And lots of New South Wales players in that team. We're in Female Football Week. I should probably mention that Isabella Mosson, Football New South Wales referee, was, when you're listening to this, the referee for the A-League Women's Grand Final. So congratulations to the referees department. But Abs, in the last month or so since we last caught up, where have you been out and about in the New South Wales venues? Because I have one that I went to for the first time myself since I last saw you, but where have you been out on the ground?
Too many places to remember, but if there is one game that has stuck with me this month, APIA Leichhardt beating the SD Raiders 3-2. That was utter chaos and absolutely, for the neutral, the game to be at, the game to watch. A missed penalty, hit the crossbar 3 times, but the class of APIA just shone right through.
And some of the goals of the season, I think that in terms of isolating one game to show someone, hey, this is what you get as an NPL experience, that one would have been right up there. I went to the grand final rematch in the women's between Bulls Academy and APIA at Northbridge Oval. I had not been to Northbridge Oval on my travels yet. Because I'd been reliably informed that you are a little bit exposed to the elements. So I went and did a little bit of research into how I might be able to, without having to hold an umbrella, survive the elements in future. And I have now that I've seen the ground for myself, put myself down for a game. I just hope it doesn't rain. But if it does, I now have some contingency plans in place because I've got to say, on a nice day, like it was for the grand final rematch, it is a beautiful ground and you get a lovely view of the city and the golf course and everything.
I must ask, to commentate at the Northbridge Oval is an absolute, I wouldn't call it a pain, but you've got everything around you. You've got the people with their pets, the players coming through, the noise, someone spilt their drink, someone might step over the cables here. So to commentate there, I think you might just enjoy it.
Well, as I said, I hope the weather's nice and I'll get there nice and early to find a parking spot too. So we are going to talk NPL men's, NPL women's and leagues competitions on this pod. We've got 3 guests who've come to join us out at the home of football, Valentine Sports Park. We're going to start in the top flight, right near the pointy end, in fact, with our first guest coming up next. MITA is the official ball sponsor of NPL New South Wales and Football New South Wales Leagues competitions. Visit MITA Sports Australia for all your football needs. MITA, a different league. So it's time for our NPL men's chat, and joining us is one of the top, if not the top goalkeeper in the division so far this season, Oliver Kalac from APIA Leichhardt, joining us off the back at the time of recording of a very impressive performance and important win against Sydney United. We're coming up on the halfway point of the season. Ollie, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So the season so far, we were discussing off air before we jumped in that it is a very long season when you're at a club that's got Australian Championship, you're alive in the cups as well, Australia Cup, Waratah Cup, but you just love the amount and the volume of football that you get to play and the number of weeks of the year that it gets to occupy. Yeah,
it's great. Obviously, you want to play as many games as possible, so we got the league, we got the cup coming up. Hopefully we qualify the 32 for the Australia. So the more games, the better. What keeps the energy high? Like, do you just have a collectively motivated group of players? Do you find that your coach, Franco Parisi, has to get the boys up, or an assistant coach? Or are there just leaders within the dressing room that if someone looks like the bad weather hasn't hit yet, but if the midwinter grind starts to pinch, who are the people that keep the energy high? Because it's a 30-game marathon, and often with those midweeks for all the cups dotted in. I think we just got a great team culture, and we know that it's a long season, that we've got to prepare for the good and the bad, and I think all the boys know that with all these games coming up that everyone's just going to get minutes and we'll be ready for it.
And talk to me about yourself. Your stature as a goalkeeper has gone from beyond to even further than that. How have you found growing at APIA, and who's played a big part in that?
all the coaches, all the boys, joining last year it was excellent. We won the title last year, so we're just looking to grow on that. And yeah, it's just great.
And what was your move like? I believe you've been at Sydney United before, Croatian background yourself. What was it like moving away from Sydney United?
Look, it was just, for me, it was a bit of a no-brainer when APIA calls, you answer. So I just wanted to win games, win trophies, and there's no better club than APIA for that.
I know you've just beaten them in the league, and it's obviously, at the moment, we think it's a 3-team title race all the way to the finish line. But how does it make you feel seeing Sydney United still having a strong season and basically after a bit of a weaker Australian Championship bouncing right back to being a contender, and the fans are back out supporting them again?
Yeah, look, it's great for them. They're obviously a massive club, so it's good to see the fans come out for their games. Obviously on the weekend we had a great turnout. It was an excellent game as well. Both teams playing good football. So I think the big teams just need to be doing well, so just makes the NPL more competitive and a better league.
Your own training, but also you coach, juniors of all ages. But what are the benchmarks that you've set for yourself sort of to get better as a goalkeeper? Is it purely down to clean sheets and goals conceded? Do you review every, ball you contest or cross you clear or save you make? Like, what are the actual benchmarks that you're grading yourself against to track your improvement?
I just, watch the games back, saves at important moments, good decisions, smart decisions, just all stuff like that.
Do you find that when you are having a good game, you're just in the zone and it happens naturally, or are you a sort of a high concentration, every single thing you thinking about micromanaging?
No, I'm not really.
Do you just like to go with the flow and get in the zone?
I'll just go with the flow.
Yeah.
Usually, just go with the flow, see how it goes.
And it's the great players that overcome difficult moments. I want to take you back to the Australian Championship.
Yeah.
The final against Marconi.
Yeah.
There's not many people that have a moment like that and come back twice as strong the next season. How are you mentally? How are you growing as a player?
Because, that's football. That's football. That happens, to the best of us. Adversity is a privilege. So to be able to go through a moment like that and come back made me stronger as a person, goalkeeper, made me work harder, probably woke me up a little bit as well. But, it's great.
And I want to talk about Dad for a second. As someone who grew up working in the exact same line of work as their father and doing the exact same thing, what's it like with the pressures of having a dad who's accomplished as much? And if you don't mind telling the people what your dad's actually accomplished.
For me, it's great to have someone like that on my side. He's always backing me. I've got the support, gives me the advice, tells me what I can do better, watches my games every week. So it's great. And I don't really feel the pressure from him.
And I think you've carved your own path.
Yeah.
I think the important thing, and one thing I've learned, doing this, pretty much working the same line of work as your father, is you want to get out of that, you're your dad's son.
Yeah.
You want to be your own person, your own goalkeeper. Is that an important thing to you?
Yeah, of course. Like, he was a lot stricter on me, a lot harsher when I was younger, whereas now I'm 23 years old. Like, I'm my own man, so...
It's created some, I wouldn't say divided loyalties, but you've definitely got a second team that you're interested in for the upcoming World Cup as well, because Zelchko's the goalkeeping coach for the Iraq national team with Rob Stanton, Graham Arnold as the head coach. So there's a real Australian investment in that Iraq team doing well at the tournament. But what's that been like to watch their progress from afar and know that you've got 2 teams to support at the World Cup?
3 teams.
3 teams?
Australia, Croatia, Iraq.
Of course, Croatia. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's great. It's great. I'm happy for them. It's a massive achievement for all of them. Hopefully they can, pull off a miracle at the World Cup. Obviously got a very difficult group, so we'll see what they can do.
So you're taking out an Iraqi passport anytime soon?
See what we can do.
The state of sort of your career progression, we were chatting about what it is that you want and you're aiming for in football, but right now it's just games, it's being a number 1 keeper. How far do you think you can push your career, though?
Time will tell, I guess. I don't really visualize and think about stuff like that. I just go weekend at a time, day at a time, train hard, and I'm sure the rest will all just come naturally.
Well, one thing we love to talk up on this podcast is sort of the value of the NPL as a place to play. And it seems as though, when you're at a title contender, a team that does a lot of things well, that APIA clearly does, guys just enjoy playing, and there's a real love of that level of competition. It's not purely about being a stepping stone or ambitions to go on to play professionally. Like, you can exist very happily in the NPL, but I mean, you contrast that with someone like your teammate Oscar Gonzalez, who, as a teenager has kind kind of breaking out, and a lot of people are talking about where does he go next. But it is important to actually enjoy on the journey that you are already at one of the top clubs in the entire country in APIA at the moment. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. The best team to be at in NPL, former champions, reigning champions. So,
And on to where Franco Parisi. So what's the method behind the madness? Because he's sexy football. You see him on the sideline. He's animated. And I'll be honest with you, every time I've gone out to APIA, like out to Lambert Park, and even if he's at a game and being the away team, we felt loved and appreciated. What is it about Franco that's just so infectious?
the boys just love him, like the sexy football, the calmness that he brings. I think that reflects on the field, on the way we play, the passing, the patience, the build-up. It's just reflection of him as a person and as a coach.
Well, have you had to grow as a keeper in terms of being more than just a shot stopper at APIA?
Look, at the end of the day, goalkeeper's job is to save the ball, so that's my main focus. But obviously, playing out from the back is growing in football, so it's just something that I've had to tweak maybe.
And how do you find that as a keeper? Do you think it's a necessity? Because a lot of talk in the broader football world is talking about goalkeepers now. You've got to be able to play that from the back. You've got to be able to be good in the air. You've got to be a good shot stopper. Is that just a myth to you? Or
At the end of the day, you're the only one on the field with gloves on, so your job's to stop the ball. If you can do that well, the rest, the rest is all just a bonus.
Oh, fair enough.
We're at the halfway point of the season. The fixture worked out so that APIA plays Marconi round one, and then the first fixture of the second half of the season. It is interesting that it falls now, and it rather than in the run into the title race, you won't see them again for the rest of the campaign. So I know at the time of chatting, we've got one more game to be played, but at the time everyone's listening to this, it'll be coming up at the weekend. So how do you see the game against Marconi? I mean, it's always a big occasion. Met in the finals, met in the Australian Championship. You must be getting sick of each other at this point, always playing against each other. But it doesn't diminish from the occasion that we're getting it so often. And then I think by the finals time at the end of this year, because it's falling in May, everyone's going to be like, gee, APIA hasn't played Marconi in a while. We're due for one. So what is it like when you see them as the next name on the fixture?
Well, it's a massive clash, obviously, as well. They've been winning games silently. Probably a lot of people haven't been talking about them as much, but they've been winning every week. They're 1 point behind us, and they got a great squad this year, and it'll be a great game.
And in terms of the growth of APIA, I spoke with Franco a few weeks ago on the match of the round. I believe it was when you played St. George FC.
Yeah.
The way the club's grown, the way the club holds itself, and I think the way the club is seen now is beyond the club's expectations.
Yeah, I think the club's done an incredible job the last few years on what they're doing with the culture and all that.
Because even during the championship, there were many clubs that were going to the lengths that you guys were booking out. I believe it was Olympic Park to train at times.
Yeah.
And being able to invest as much as you have in the squad and invest as much as you have in the facilities, it's important, and it shows in the success and the results.
Yeah, I agree.
One more I wanted to ask. As a goalkeeper, some fan bases will have fans behind the goal. Any away grounds where, whether it's junior fans, senior fans, where you'll be in for a tougher time than others? Does anything stick in your memory?
To be fair, this weekend was pretty funny. I was getting some abuse from behind the goal, and I went to turn around to see who it was, and it was Paddy Antelmi. So some things never change.
Toughest away ground, though, in the league? Mainly from a goalkeeping point of view, whether it's, somewhere you have to keep warm because you're standing on your
Christie
own.
Parks in the winter is a tough away day. UNSW, I didn't like that one this year.
Yeah.
Dark, the lights weren't great. Field was, not great. So it was a difficult one.
Any Smith Reserve?
I didn't mind it.
Yeah.
Just a bit dry.
Oh,
Ground was a bit dry, yeah.
I had a full vocal
Big
hearing
field,
of Ollie that whole game just behind that goal. It's I think I was at Barton Park a few weeks ago. Chris Marquez.
Yeah.
He copped a mouthful from the juniors at St. George.
Yeah, the kids. It is just kids, though, so you can handle
Yeah,
it.
it's all right.
Let's do some rapid fire to finish. Abs, take us inside the dressing room with some quick fire questions.
All right. Who's the funniest in the squad?
I'd go Yuchi. Yuchi and Rory. Rory Jordan's a funny guy.
He's sarcastic. I'll give it to him. Who's the best dressed?
Look, I won't give it to myself. I'll be humble. I'll give it to Sega.
Fair enough. Who's the most active in the team group chat?
Probably Sega as well. Sega or Yuch.
Who's on the tunes in the dressing room?
Sega.
Who would survive longest on a reality TV show?
It's a good one. Let me think. I think Kuda would do a good job.
Do you have a reality TV show that you would most like to go on?
None of them.
None of them?
Nah, keep me away.
Love Island?
No, please.
All right. Who has the best football IQ? And you can't say Franco Parisi.
Shawnee. I'm going to go Shawnee.
Fair enough. Who spends the most time in front of the mirror?
Oscar Gonzalez.
Fair enough. Which young player should fans keep an eye on?
Max Court.
And who would make the best coach in the future?
Let me think. I think Shawnee.
Fair enough.
Now, we'll finish with your dream five-a-side team. It can be anyone who's been a teammate of yours at any level throughout your career. So you can't name yourself.
All right.
It might be tough as a goalkeeper if you can't name yourself. But if you could name your dream five-a-side, who would you like to pick, and which team along the journey did you play alongside them?
Let's go striker. We'll start with striker. He's not a striker, but in small-sided games, he's a cheat code. So we'll go Shawnee up top. Simmons.
Sean Simmons?
Yeah. We'll go Franco Farinello in the middle with Carlos.
Carlos de
Oliveira, yeah.
Yep.
We'll go them two in the middle.
That's pure vibes in midfield.
Yeah. We'll go Michael Kuda at the back. And every team needs a great goalkeeper, so we'll go Matt Nikolovsky.
And which team were you?
Hurstville Zagreb. He's
Okay.
out now. I played with him at United.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Mindset, attitude of that team?
Very disciplined.
Very disciplined?
Yeah.
No, love it.
Kuda at the back's just no nonsense. Carlos and Franco in the midfield is just, if they're looking good, they'll be happy and they'll play well.
Lots of slide tackles, dirty challenges.
Thank you for some insight into both your goalkeeping and also things at APIA. All the best for the rest of the season. Obviously, we're only at halfway and there's a lot still to be played, but so far so good. And thank you for joining us on Kickoff.
Thank you.
Big thank you to Ollie Kalac joining us. And how could I forget Croatia? He's got 3 teams to support at the World Cup: Australia, Croatia, and Iraq. And Abs, you're going to the World Cup yourself.
Yes, I will be leaving on the 11th of June. We get to watch our Socceroos twice, thankfully. Seeing Croatia play as well against Panama. Thomas was not going to not go to that World Cup and not watch Croatia. But yeah, there's a few other games in between. So really excited for that. And
I'm sure you'll be keeping YouTube handy. With the time difference, it might work out for quite a few NPL games, actually, just to keep a sneaky eye. 100 World Cup games, but don't forget NPL going on in the background as well. So
there aren't many leagues that continue going through that World Cup, but here at Football New South Wales, the NPL still goes through.
And on that note, we're going to switch over to NPL Women's for our next guest and take a look at what's going on in that competition. Every NPL New South Wales match live, free and on demand on YouTube. Subscribe to the Football New South Wales YouTube channel today. One of the players chasing the golden boot this season in NPL Women's is Brinley Gentle from Manly United. Well known, even at your young age, to the league now, Brinley, because you've been in seniors for what? Is this your 4th or 5th season of seniors? Did you break through when you were 16, 17 at the Emerging Jets? What's your recollections of how long you think you've been a senior player for now?
I think I had 2 years at first grade at the Jets and then moved to APIA for 2 years and then this year. So probably about 5, I reckon.
And obviously that's the experience of a lot of female players. You get exposed to that level super young. But now that you're sort of coming into your own as a experienced senior player, how are you finding the rhythm of the season and sort of the expectations of senior NPL trying to in a top 4 battle, which is pretty much wide open at the moment? How are you finding the season so far?
Yeah, it's been, the season's, the competition's so close every single year. I think we say it every year. I think coming into Manly, I was a lot more prepared than when I was going to APIA. I think senior football is just completely different to academy football. So it's something that I was never really exposed to or prepared for, to be honest. But yeah, I love the competitive of it, and yeah, it's been really good this year, and it was a bit tough the last 2 years, but yeah, I'm really enjoying where I'm at right now.
You say competitive. I mean, you have been in good scoring form.
Yeah.
Don't let me sell you short. 7 so far this season?
Yeah, seven.
So what do you put it down to? Because it does seem like a tough team to break into.
Mm.
And, I mean, your own profile as a striker, you've got Emily Minette there, who's already a very good back-to-goal target woman striker. Do you find yourself, well aware of your competition just to get a start at Manly? And tell us what that dynamic has been like.
Yeah, definitely. I think you got to kind of go, especially going to a new club, I've kind of understood that it was going to take a while to like earn my spot a bit. But I think I just look at it now as, if I don't start, if I do start, like if I get 5 minutes, 10 minutes, I'm just going to go on and just do whatever, like make a difference and do whatever I can in like the time that I do get, instead of kind of getting caught up in being disappointed of how many minutes you're getting, rather going on and just kind of block that all out and just do what I can to, help the team and I guess, make Tom's decision harder about what he wants to do with me. But yeah.
And as we were saying off camera, I was speaking to Ashla, to Crofty on the weekend, and she had nothing but good things to say about you. She may or may not have been willing to throw you under the bus a little bit on the podcast, but that's fine. What was it like moving from APIA? Because she's leading the Golden Boot race at the moment. Yeah. And yourself on 7 goals. I believe you're sitting in 2nd or 3rd at the moment in that race. Yeah. And to quote the great Kelly Clarkson, you spread your wings and you learn how to fly, and you moved to Manly United, and now, you're showing your true colours in terms of being a goal scorer and a critical one as well. Yeah,
well, I think it's a bit of deja vu from 2023 because I was kind of in that race with her that year, and then when I got the opportunity to come to APIA, I was really, keen to learn off her for a few years, and we became great mates, and I can't say anything bad about Crofty. She's a great person, and it's good to have someone like that in your corner. And then it was hard. It was definitely hard to leave because I had, great friends at APIA, like including Crofty. And I remember being on the phone to her and I'm telling her like all these things about Manly, and she's like, well, I think you've made your decision. And so it's just been cool again to kind of compete with her, not on the same team. So, and she's just a freak, like 11 goals, and she's getting old and she's still doing it. So yeah.
Tell us about leaving the emerging Jets, because I think a lot of players in the NPL Women's are going to live the experience that you had. They might get identified by an academy team, whether it's Western Sydney Wanderers, Emerging Jets, Central Coast, or whatever it is that Sydney FC are doing with they may not play in the NPL, but they still have their own female development program. What's it like when you know that you're getting towards that graduating age? You've got the anxiety about, will I get picked up by an A-League team? If I age out of this academy, where do I go with my football? I mean, tell us about the decisions you had to make as a young person, realizing that what comes next is senior football, and it's a big wide world where you got to make a choice out there.
Yeah, well, I think towards my time with the Jets, I was pretty set on, I wanted to finish school and finish my HSC and then go try a Sydney club. I didn't, and then I was pretty lucky to have the year I had in the last year at the Jets, and I had a few different teams come to me, which if you were to ask me a year before that, I'd be thinking I was, going to Sydney to beg people to take me, because I was in a team that hadn't won, any games in 2 years, and the first year in first grade didn't really didn't score many, it wasn't really a name, I guess. But yeah, it was, I think I was really ready for it by that time. It'd been, 10 years and I was really excited for a change. But I think soon, I had to kind of make a decision of where I wanted to go, and then Taylor messaged me and that was my decision made basically straight away. Going from the Jets to academy set up to APIA, where you're expected to win every game. That's just the expectation. It was definitely tough. I think you're not really exposed to the reality of senior football, especially at the academy. And the last few years in particular, we sometimes were lucky to fill a team sheet. So it's there wasn't that competitive nature at the Jets. So it was something that I probably was never prepared for going to to APIA. But, you know, I'm really grateful for it, and I learned a lot of, you know, lessons about myself, a lot of hard lessons about the reality of senior football. But I think, yeah.
Is it largely game day, or are there things that happen in training at clubs compared to the academies as well that kind of, you know, make it apparent that the 3 points on the weekend is what you got to live and die for, rather than, say, your own development as a player?
Yeah, well, Jets, like, the training setup was kind of just the same every week, and then you go into the senior side of it, and it's like, you know, the start of the weeks, you get your legs moving, and then towards the end of the week, you kind of can, like, realise what game day is going to look like, which is something that, you know, the Jets was just more like development, obviously. So it's like, it's also a hard mental thing if you know, looking at training, it's like, well, it looks like I'm not going to play, and you can get in your head about it a lot. But, yeah, it's very different to the academy for sure.
Well, just on the mental side of football, I believe the distance between Newcastle and Cromer Park is about 162 kilometres.
Yeah.
Now, I believe you still reside in Newcastle. You're a Newcastle girl?
Yeah.
But you're playing Cromer Park.
Yeah.
Now, that drive, well, from Sydney to Cromer Park is a drive well enough, but that 2.5 hour drive from Newcastle to Cromer Park is a long one. What gets you going? What keeps you being able to make that drive to still play football regardless of where you're living?
Yeah, I think I just really enjoy it, to be honest. I've loved the last 3 years, even though it's been definitely tough travel-wise. Yeah, I love playing in Sydney. I love Sydney, but I'm not really ready to move yet. I love Newcastle more. Yeah, I love my life in Newcastle, but yeah, it's just I think the league itself is so huge as well. Like, even on a national like scale, it's everyone really like wants to play in the NPL, like New South Wales, and that's what I want to do. So, you know, I'm happy to make the travel 2 hours if I have to. Yeah. You
haven't had the local NPL clubs in Newcastle knocking on your door, you know, Charlestown, Lake Macquarie.
Oh.
There's a bit of cash thrown around in that league too.
A few.
As much as you want to test yourself against the best, and you stay here to do that, but I don't know, has the temptation to go and be a flat track bully in that competition come up?
Sometimes, yeah. Just I honestly, like, not even phased about the money, but just the travel. Like, it'd be nice to drive 10 minutes to training because it's all like so local to me. But I'll be in Sydney as long as I can. Yeah.
And what is it about Newcastle that you love so much? Because I love going up there. I think I've fallen in love with that town every time I've gone.
Yeah.
But there's just something about it where it's just in the middle of country and city. And that balance.
Yeah, well, I love the beach. I work on the beach, and it's funny because, you know, Manly's Northern Beaches is the same kind of vibe as Newcastle. So it feels, you know, pretty similar to home. But, yeah, I love Newey. I think even all the A-League girls that go play in Newcastle, like, they love it up there as well. So it's just, yeah, it's a nice little community up there, and yeah, I'll stay there as long as I can.
Let's talk about the season that you're currently engaged in, because you're mid-table at the moment, but you know that you're a 2-game winning streak away from the top 4 and contending again. It does feel as though UNSW, APIA, and to an extent Bulls have kind of separated themselves.
Yeah.
Is the perception that everyone's battling for one spot in the top 4 at the moment, or do you feel as though those top 3 are still catchable from what you've seen playing against them this season?
Yeah, I think it's really anyone's game. I think the results definitely, like, those 3 teams just somehow find a way to win, which is, you know, what good teams do. But football-wise, I think a few weeks ago we played UNSW, and I, you know, thought we were probably the better team, but we just, conceded 2 late set pieces, and that's just their way of finding how to win. So I think, you know, the quality between teams, especially like kind of the top 8, top 6, is very similar. It's just who's, you know, better on the day and who can just find a way to win games.
And just furthering on that, this season, I think the surprise pack of the league has been the Western Sydney Wanderers, currently sitting in second. I believe they beat 3-2 on the day.
Yeah.
You could have scored in the last few minutes.
Yeah.
It was a tough game that day. But being an ex-academy girl yourself, having played for the Jets, the emerging Jets, what does it take to get academies right because, you know, the Western Sydney Wanderers this year, they've kept a lot of that side together from last year. You can see they've developed well and they're showing results on the field.
Yeah. Yeah, I think kind of they have that like professional environment that I probably didn't have growing up. And they're, you know, very interchangeable with the A-League. And yeah, I think they just, the facilities they have out there as well, they just, you know, have every reason not to thrive. And yeah, they're doing great. They were, really tough a few weeks ago and we gave it to them, but just, couldn't get there in the end.
And what are your ambitions coming into the year? You want that golden boot? You want to make top 4 as a team first, Brinley second?
Oh, I'm always team first. Yeah. I love scoring goals, but I love scoring goals so we can win games and, you know, hopefully make finals and go for a trophy. That's my priority. I mean, golden boot would be great, but I'd rather win a team trophy or make finals than get that one.
We're speaking to you just after the transfer window has opened with players coming back from A-League, whether they're taking a break or immediately straight back into it. And Manly's no exception. Sienna Dale and Emma Bates and Georgia Ritchie have come in. I assume that's it, just those three. But
I think so.
So it won't be as big a dynamic shift for Manly as it will be for some of the other teams. Everyone's expecting Northwest Sydney Spirit to add. You know, they had 4 or 5 players appear for the first time this weekend just gone, and I'm hearing, you know, it could be a totally new team by the second half of the season.
Yeah.
So how did you've experienced this both with your own Jets teammates coming back to the academy team, but also just the, you know, influx of talent, APIA no exception last season. How does that change the dynamic from a player's point of view? You know, you might have seen a team first time around, and then second time, it's all new faces, almost like a totally new team. So how do you adjust to that both as a squad, but also, you know, how do you see that sort of shift as it happens almost at the halfway point of the season?
Yeah, I think as a squad, I mean, Manly brought in only, you know, 3 players and they add a lot, but the whole squad kind of, you know, stays together and it's not much that really changes. I think playing against teams, you know, the first half of the season, second half of the season is completely different. But yeah, I mean, you know, some teams can bring in 8 A-League players and they still, they don't have that, you know, connection on the field and it's still hard to get a result. So I think it changes a lot, but it also, you know, kind of makes the competition a lot more like wide open and really like regardless of what players you got, any team can beat anyone, I guess.
And at the time of recording, it is Female Football Week. First and foremost, what does it mean to be a female NPL player here in New South Wales? Because I think the competition's gone leaps and bounds. It's grown exponentially, and even the A-League itself, you know, the opportunities have risen through the rise of the Matildas as well, you know, has gone beyond our expectations. So when it comes to Female Football Week, what does it mean to you to be a female footballer here in New South Wales? Yeah,
it means a lot. I grew up going to W League games when I was like, you know, six years old, and you'd be lucky to have 100 people watching. So it's crazy to see how far it's come, especially since the Matildas. And I was going to Matildas games like the Asian Cup in years ago, like in Wollongong, and you'd get a couple hundred people, and now you're selling out a stadium like every single time they come. So it's really, it's amazing to see how far the game's gone, especially the NPL, I think's had a bit more growth the last few years with a lot more media coverage. And I think it's great because like the people in the NPL was like sacrifice a lot and they're, you know, doing just as much as, you know, a professional footballer. So it's great that, you know, they're kind of getting the exposure as well.
Let's finish with some quick fire questions. Abs has got a couple lined up for you here. Don't be modest is what I'll say.
All right. What's the best goal you've scored in the NPL?
The best. I don't really score many worldies, to be honest. I have one that kind of sticks out because of the story, but I think it was like round 20 or something 2 years ago against Sydney Uni. And it was my first grade goal for APIA. It took that long. That was not in Sapphire Cup. So yeah, I like the kind of the story behind that one.
Walk us through it step by step, like just
the goal or the story?
The goal, the story.
The goal, it was actually just left foot. I just kind of kept going for it, touched around the keeper, and hit it across. But I think the week before that, Crofty actually had got hurt and she was out for the season, had a collapsed lung, and I was doing pretty well in 23s. I'm like, maybe I'll get a start here, and Brad didn't start me, and then I was like, oh, that's all right. And then he was talking to me before I went on, and he's like, I know it's a bit tough that you didn't start, but just go on there and prove me wrong. Just say a bit of like an F you Brad. I'm like, okay. Went on and scored, and then I came off, and it was an important game as well. Like every point at that point was really important, and I came off, and he came over, he's like, well done, mate. And I was like, I just said, F you, Brad, straight away. So yeah, I love the kind of story behind that one. And he started me the next week, so it must have worked.
All right, favorite footballer growing up?
I grew up in a Liverpool household, so probably Steven Gerrard.
Favorite female footballer growing up?
Who sticks in your mind from those W League games when you were a little kid?
Well, I'm really great mates with Melissa Barbieri, so I'll say her.
Okay. What was the first grassroots club you played for?
South Wallsend Junior Soccer Club, Newcastle, you would know.
The fixture you look forward to every time you check the fixture list at the start of the year?
Oh, it used to be the Jets because it was the closest one, but I'll probably say APIA now.
Favorite female footballer abroad?
Abroad? Probably Alessia Russo.
Alessia Russo.
Yeah.
Should be playing striker, not a midfield, I reckon.
Yeah.
Player that has surprised you the most at Manly?
A lot of the young ones. I think Sarah Whelan's been really good. Macca, Jeff's been really good. They've started a few games, so yeah, watch out for them.
Favourite thing off the menu at Cromer Park?
I actually haven't tried the canteen yet, yeah.
Not even the bar or anything there?
Oh, no.
No.
I know. I need to go into that.
Fair enough. And the last one, which player should we keep an eye on the most?
I reckon Kayla Osborne. She's done really well since coming in, so yeah.
It's a dead even season. All the best for the rest of the campaign, both with your goal scoring and also for Manly United as a team. And thanks for your insights as well into, a bit of graduating academy football and breaking into seniors. And you are still young. You've got a massive career ahead of you. So thanks for coming and joining us on Kickoff today.
No worries. Thanks for having me.
Big thanks to Brinley Gentle for joining us there. So a lot of travel, a lot of commitment to keep playing football, but an interesting story because we get used to players making their senior debut at 15, 16, 17 in NPL Women's, not realising that you still have to make some pretty important decisions when you're finishing high school, getting to the end of being in an academy, and some real insight there into just the different expectations and context of senior football and how different it can be.
Yeah, and I think what she's seen at such a young age and how she's able to develop to the player that she is today is quite the astonishing story.
So hopefully the goals keep flying in. Certainly that's what Manly United will be hoping for. All right, we're going to do our leagues chat next and go to one of the stories of the season in Football New South Wales Men's League One.
Day after day, Kappa rewrites the concept of sportswear. Kappa means teamwork, past, present, and future. Kappa never stops, 'cause winning starts within. 2 people, 1 brand. Kappa.
Welcome back to Kickoff. It's time for our leagues chat, and we are in League One Men's this week, and we're going to be talking about Bankstown City. They have been the talk of the league this season, and joining us is one of the most recognisable players in all of NPL due to his long-time contribution to the competition across a number of years. Blake Ricciuto, great to have you alongside us, Blake.
Thank you, guys. It's a pleasure to be here. Looking forward to it.
Let's get straight to matters at hand in the league before we talk about you, because this Bankstown City team, a lot of hype around them this season. Bit of a slower start than you would have hoped. Injuries as well. But we're coming up to the halfway point, and you're right back at the pointy end. That's me looking in from the outside. What's it been like living it from the inside?
Yeah, look, as you said, quite a slow start, due to, it's a whole new team. So, but, the expectations were quite high with all the major signings that we've had and the things that Bankstown are doing at the club right now. But obviously it was going to take time to gel with the whole new team. But yeah, currently now we've kind of found our feet and we started to pick up some results, and we're sitting, 3 points off first, which is quite good. Obviously we'd like to be first, but at the moment, coming into the end of the round, we're in a good spot. So yeah.
And talk to us about that fan base. I was there on the opening game against, I believe it was Rydalmere.
Yes.
Yeah. You had about 1,500 people there that day. And for a League One side, that is astonishingly amazing.
Yeah, look, I think the club has done a great job, and the fans there, as you know, Bankstown, a powerhouse club from many years ago, and the idea of behind the club, the board members and the people running the club is to get Bankstown back to where they were, and they've been showing that this season by the fan attendance, and looking after the club, the way they look after the players. So I think it's quite important for both the league and Bankstown as a club. So yeah.
And being myself from Bankstown, I've come out to a few games this year just as a fan to come out and support your local. It's amazing to see that when a club really puts in the effort, it gives the people of that area, the locals, something to be proud of. Do you think Bankstown's really embodied that 2200?
Yeah, I think they have. They I think also as you know, Bankstown, the big Macedonian club and the Macedonian community behind it, they've also came back and started to show. And as you said, the Bankstown community itself come out to the games and they've really brought in. But as I said, it's the vision from the board, the board members who are running the club, that they have a vision and they want to get there, but they're doing everything they can to bring the fans back, and which I think they're doing a great job.
Is everyone still playing their cup final against you each weekend, or is that faded as the season's gone on? Because that first game of the season against Rydalmere, the 9-goal thriller, it was like, wow, is this going to be the chaos team where everyone is playing their grand final against Bankstown City every week? Has that faded, or do you still feel as though teams are getting up for you every week of the season?
Yeah, it is kind of like that. You can see every week, every team that we play against, for them, it's a grand final. We've signed, as you said, some decent players and all the noise and all the hype around it. If I was at another team, look, I'd love to be playing against Bankstown and making my grand final as well. So yeah, so it seems like that's happening every week. We're in a battle every single week, in a scrap, because they're just turning up, like it's a grand final for them.
Are you going to grounds and venues that you'd never been to on your travels, or had you played in New South Wales for long enough that you'd largely seen and learnt most of the away days that you've gone to in League One this season?
Look, there's a few grounds that I think I played at when I was a lot younger, but there's some that I actually knew to me, like is it North Tarramara, the Northern Tigers ground.
Yep.
That was a new one for me.
Hey, you got it out of the way before the real bad weather kicks in, though. So that's good
that's
news.
Right. Yeah. So the next one at home, so that's fine. So yeah, that one. And I can't really think of any others, like the Blacktown Spartans one. I've played there back when Spartans were in NPL 1, years ago. So yeah, but other than that, I think most of them I've played at. So yeah.
What is your perception of sort of the standard of League One and the challenges of League One compared to the NPL? Because you've gone from a title contender at Rockdale to, a different type of title contender at a different level. But what are you seeing that is immediately different, or does it largely just feel more or less the same week in, week out with the challenges you face?
Look, I would be lying if I say there wasn't a difference. There is a difference, but the quality and of players, there's still a lot of good quality players. Don't get me wrong. I just feel like there's maybe a difference between the bottom half of the league and the top half of the league in sort of that way. Maybe whether it be budget, whether it be certain other aspects. But yeah, every team we play against, as I said, it's tough. It's not easy. Whether it be the team on the bottom half of the table, top of the table, it's not an easy league. It's not an easy league.
Well, I'm going to ask the question that's on everyone's mind.
Yes.
Yourself, Alex, Sorgi, moved from Rockdale to Bankstown City. What was the inspiration behind it? Because when it happened, everyone was just gobsmacked.
Look. When it all happened, Bankstown, the project at Bankstown was something that, for me personally, I can't speak of both for Euro and Sorgi, but the project itself kind of drew my attention. I came back from overseas to play at Rockdale for 2 years. We won the premiership and that, and I just thought it was a time for me to go for another challenge. And what Bankstown as a club, the board members and the people, the president, that the way they look after us and the project that they put in front of us, I was like, yeah, I want to be a part of this. I want to be a part of something that's going to grow and be something quite good. So that's mainly the main part. And I'm pretty sure that Euro and Sorgi are the same, to help a club that was once one of the big clubs in New South Wales, to get them back to where they were. I think that's what kind of drives me the most to make that decision.
Well, do you draw much similarities between the two Macedonian clubs?
There's a few differences. I don't know, similarities. Maybe the Chavapi. I don't know. That's about it.
What's Euro like in the rehab group? Like, where's he at with his return to playing, and the injury he suffered? And does he train with the team? Is he off doing his own thing? Like, what's the current state of play there?
No, look, Euro, with his injury, as you know, he's been at the top of his game for so many years, and he's a top professional. He's been doing things on his own, and he comes to basically every training session and does. He hasn't been training directly with the team, but he's on the outside doing his own thing, doing his hurdles, doing his stretches. So in that sort of way, I'm pretty sure he's not far off. I don't know the actual timeline, and I don't want to say anything that might put
Yeah, fair enough.
So, but he's not far off, and he's a top professional, and we do miss him. But at the end of the day, we can't wait for him to get back.
And I want to point your attention to another member of the squad, Famodo Kamara.
Yes.
Have you had the chance to drive on the way in with you?
I haven't yet, no, but some of the boys have, and he's been doing his vlogs and things like that. But I haven't driven in the car with him and done that yet. So yeah,
He's an absolute vibe, I'll tell you that.
mate, what a guy, what a player as well.
Let's leave the Bankstown chat there for a moment and talk about you. You talked about this project. If the team was to win promotion, is your aim, in your 30s now, to play another season of top flight NPL, or is your focus purely on what you can achieve this year and then worry about the future in the future?
Look, to be honest, with the club now at Bankstown, the idea is to get them promoted. As you said, that's my first and foremost focus. The club's doing a great job. The president Robbie, then the Danny Groz, John Mav, and even God said they're doing a great job, and I'm happy to help them get promoted. And if next year they have me on board, I'm happy to stay at Bankstown for how long they want to keep me. You know what I mean? That's my aim.
I was going to say, you've had some adventures in your career. Is Sydney home, or do you think you've got, whether it's a player or as a coach, do you still have the urge to try a different footballing culture, to try a different country? We'll get into a little bit of where you've been, but as far as what is in the future, is Sydney home, or do you still have the urge to try elsewhere?
Look, in the near future, I'd say Bankstown's home. So Sydney is home in the near future. Whether that be 3 years going down, as I said, depending how long my legs keep going and how much the board want to keep me. But at the moment that's home. But obviously, Uruguay is also home for me, and I'm happy. I'm always happy to explore other options whenever needed. But football playing wise, I think hopefully I can stay at Bankstown for as long as I can.
So forgive me if I've missed any stops, but for those not familiar with your journey, you've played in Southeast Asia, Malaysia and Brunei. You've played in Uruguay as well. Nowhere I've left off? Was there any?
Well, not Malaysia. I've played in Singapore and Brunei.
Singapore
and Brunei and Uruguay. So yeah.
Do you look back on that as those were moves that you had to make, and you're happy with those moves? And obviously you've interspersed it with stints in Australia in between. Like, tell us about what you've taken in from your experience as a globe-trotting footballer.
Yeah, look, to be honest, I have no regrets. All the experiences I had, whether it be Uruguay, Brunei, or Singapore, and even here in New South Wales, there's no regrets. I've enjoyed every single part of my journey, and yeah, I'm just happy to be able to keep playing football and live those experiences abroad. So yeah.
And you're a coach off the field. When you're not on the field playing football, you're a football coach. Is that correct?
Yeah, coaching at a school and things like that. Yep, and doing a few private sessions and certain things like that. I don't know where my coaching career will take me at the moment, and I'm not really focused too much on that. Like, I'm going through my licenses and doing my badges, but my main aim at the moment is focusing on playing wise, getting Bankstown promoted, and then later on we'll see what the journey takes us.
My question was going to be, how do you take those experiences from where you've played and what you've done? Because I think there's a lot of NPL players out there that have academies and go out and coach outside of football. But what is it about your experiences that allows these players to take the best knowledge with them to the field on the weekend?
Yeah, I think most NPL footballers have always, starting through NPL, I'm pretty sure. Don't take my word for it. Most of them always want to play professionally. Like, I don't think you go into a semi-professional setup training as a youth player going through and not really wanting to make it to the next level. maybe gets to a stage where you say, okay, maybe I'm not going to make it professionally. I can stay play semi-professionally and do something else. So I think due to that, I think my experiences of finding a way to play abroad or play professionally, and, the resilience of maybe having a bit of heartbreak here, not playing A-League or going overseas, I kind of can resonate or find, or now I know why maybe I didn't make it, and I can probably coach or mentor certain kids on what they need to do to try and make it in that sort of way. So my experience kind of shaped the way I coach or mentor kids, because I know what it takes to maybe get that way, or what avenues you need to do to get to where you want to be, essentially.
So how does a club like Bankstown that's so ambitious, and you talk about, you being a coach, Alec runs a bakery, there's a handful of different occupations within the squad. For a club that wants to reach the levels that it does, for a club that wants to be, at the top level of football, it requires that extra level of commitment from the players. How do you balance both?
Look, as I said, I think as players, that most, or if not every player has their own job on the side and playing football. But the fact that the club itself have contracted the players that are really wanting to make it to buying into the project and the process of getting Bankstown to the next level. I think they've done a good job in recruitment in getting those players that aren't just there to take the mick, that are really wanting to do the professional side of things and working thing. And the coaching staff is such a professional coaching staff, and the whole group is kind of stuck together, and we're all there for just one kind of goal, you know what I mean? And I think that helps, like everyone is achieving that goal, and we're all unite in that.
So what legacy do you want to leave behind you?
In general, or in Bankstown, or
one at Bankstown, or one in general?
Look, for me, just to obviously, as I said, I've mentioned it a couple of times, to get them back to where they need to be. But at the same time, just a player that gives his all and 100% on the pitch and plays with passion. That's pretty much what I want to be known for, as my legacy. Just a player that's every time steps on the pitch, gives his all and just plays with a lot of passion.
We might finish the chat with a couple of rapid-fire questions. So Abs is going to have a couple of things that we'll ask you. Just first thing that comes to mind. Take it away.
All right. Favourite moment in your playing career?
Scoring a 90th minute winner with Peñarol, my grandparents and my dad's boyhood club in Uruguay, in reserves in front of 30,000 people.
Fair enough. Any pre-game ritual you always stick to?
Drink South American mate, the tea. That's the only one.
I've got to try it next time I'm down there.
Okay, I'll bring it for you next time.
All right. Toughest away ground you've played at?
I'd have to say in Uruguay, Jardines, Danubio's home ground.
Fair enough. Any location specifically in there?
It's Montevideo, so yeah.
Team bus, on the way in and way out. Like I assume, full protection.
Fans, yeah. Oh, and then there was a time we played a friendly in Indonesia when I was in Singapore. That was pretty intense against Persib Bandung, and the fans were just flares and everything. It was just a pre-season friendly. So that's another one But we played it on an off ground on an island. I can't remember the name of the island, but that was a bit of an experience. So yeah.
And the player that has surprised you at Bankstown?
The player that surprises me at Bankstown, before his injury, Bilal Belkadi, I thought he was really good, but now lately, Shun Maeta, what a player.
Bilal was at Mount Druitt, Western City Rangers.
That's right, yeah, but Shun Maeta has been top.
All right. Best player you've played against?
Friendlies count?
Everything counts.
Well, then we'll go Federico Valverde.
Fair enough.
Who was he playing for?
So in Uruguay, I was playing second division in Uruguay, and we played a friendly against the under-17 Uruguay national team. So, and Valverde was a part of that national team.
Was it obvious even then that he was destined for big things?
There was a lot because when I was at Peñarol in the reserves, he was in I can't remember, in the lower groups, and there was already talk about him of how he was going to go and onto big things.
That wouldn't have happened to be around the time they had that video of him speaking with a really squeaky voice.
That was probably 2 years, or that was probably a year or two after I left Uruguay, that squeaky voice. Yeah, that's the one.
Fair enough. Team you've most enjoyed playing in League One?
Against?
Yeah, against.
Probably MacArthur Bulls, because I scored a winner, so I'll take that one.
And any opposition player from the NPL system you'd love your team to sign? Open checkbook. Anyone?
Anyone?
Yeah.
Even players that I've played with?
Anyone in the NPL system as we speak.
Hurts me to say this because he'll get a big head about it, but I have to say Brendan Chalakian.
Chalk.
Yeah, I gotta have to say it, but yeah, Brendan Chalakian.
And I'll throw an odd one in there. Who's winning the World Cup?
Who's winning the World Cup? If it's not Australia, it's got to be Uruguay.
How do you feel about their prospects of the World Cup?
Australia?
No, Uruguay.
Uruguay? Look,
Tough group.
But I think, the Uruguayans will find the way out of the group, and hopefully we can go all the way, Just, I don't know what's going on with Valverde at Real Madrid, but hopefully he's just turning up for the national team. That's all that matters at the moment.
I've got a question, what's the word? A question we've just come up with right now. Top 5 or top 3 Uruguayan Australian footballers?
Uruguayan Australian footballers. Wow, that's a good one. So you got to put Bruno Fornaroli's got to be up there. I'm not in any particular order. Then there's Alex Brosk. That's who's got to be up there. And then who else? I think I'd have to go with Richard Porter. Maybe you don't know. I've heard of him. He's Kangaroo Porter.
I remember
Porter.
talking about it was right around the time Australia got Max Vieri to play for the Socceroos, and then Richard Porter, he was always who's the next overseas Aussie that we could potentially bring in and cap. But he had a great record in Uruguay. We just never got him over the line to play for the Socceroos.
Yeah, I think he was born here and went to Uruguay when he was 2 or something along those lines. But Richard Porter, Fornaroli, and Alex Brosk.
Fair enough.
Pretty handy trio.
Yeah, solid trio.
Does it blow your mind to see Bruno still scoring goals the way he is at a top team as well in Avondale?
He's just a top professional and he's such a great player, you know what I mean? And he's probably one of the greatest in the A-League, to be fair.
I mean, open checkbook, any player in the NPL, he wouldn't be too bad.
That's another one.
That's one for the GM of Bankstown City, maybe to,
Oh, yeah, that's right. That'd be good. That'd be great.
Thank you for giving us some insight into how your season has gone so far. I know we're only, approaching the halfway mark, but as you said, there'll be all eyes on that promotion race in League One this season. So all the best for the second half of the year, and thanks for coming in and having a chat to us on Kickoff.
Thanks for having us, guys. Appreciate it. It's been a pleasure.
Anytime.
Thank you.
And a big thanks to Blake Ricciuto for joining us there. Great story. Certainly been some places, but I don't know. He seemed fresh and energetic and still keen to keep playing at a high level. And that's why I did ask the question about, hey, if you win promotion, are you staying on? And even though he'd be 35 next year, he seemed pretty committed to staying at Bankstown City.
I think if they do get promoted, that game between them and Rockdale might absolutely set the NPL New South Wales on fire, because they are 2 crowds, 2 teams, 2 clubs with a lot of history, and their ability to absolutely take on football and take it to that next level is ridiculous. And I'll tell you what, when it comes to Blake, it comes to Bankstown, as a proud Bankstown boy myself, they're really putting our area on the map. So can't be more proud to be from the 2200 today.
Well, I must admit, looking at my fixture, I am not heading out there anytime soon with the League One match of the round. But June, it might be the World Cup for some, but once A-League commitments are done, as of the weekend just finished with the A-League Women's Grand Final, I am ready to just dive headfirst into getting out to as many NPL games as possible, both commentating and also out at the grounds. I see Sydney United versus Sutherland Sharks on my roster, which is particularly tempting. Sydney Olympic Rockdale will be a bit of fun towards the end of June. And also, a game I mentioned that I might be heading out to commentate at Northbridge for the first time, Bulls Academy versus Northwest Sydney Spirit. By the end of June, I fully expect all of those new Spirit players coming back from the A-League to have completely transformed the team by then. So you might think, oh, why are you signing up for defending champions against the team that's in dead last? Well, I've invested early because I think that might just be a very sneaky classic coming up in the next month or so.
Might just be the biggest feat we've seen ever in the NPL women's competition if they're able to turn that around.
If they can avoid relegation, it would be massive. I hope you've enjoyed the podcast today. Make sure you subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Rate us 5 stars while you're there. Any feedback, send it through. And certainly clubs wanting to get your players on as guests on Kickoff. We've got a great setup here at Valentine Sports Park, and it's always nice to have a chat. Abs, I might not see you for a couple of months because I expect that Maeve Sparrow will come back from overseas, but you yourself may be departing. So enjoy the World Cup. I'll be watching it from here in Australia, and I hope you have a great time. And obviously, I hope the Socceroos go as far as possible.
Can't lie, I'm going to miss you, Tao.
And of course, where can we find more of your work?
UBF Official on Instagram, on TikTok, UBF Podcast or UBF Official on there as well. YouTube, UBF Podcast, but in all honesty, Football New South Wales as well, but on Matches of the Rounds too.
Exactly. The Football New South Wales socials, you will see our influencers out and about on the ground for our match of the round. You can watch all the games live on the Football New South Wales YouTube channel in the men's and women's top division, and of course, match of the round in League One. On behalf of the crew here at Football New South Wales, thanks for your company on kickoff once again. And on behalf of Abdul, Salam, I'm Teo Pellizzeri. Thanks for your company on kickoff. We'll speak to you next time.
What a save.
She gets around Dunbar, out wide, but she puts it in the net. Lovely strike, lovely bit of play.
Oh, and he's looking to catch the goalkeeper out. It is an